Well, just speaking on your music style, right? Because you have a lot of influences. Now, are people taken aback when the face behind the music comes about? Because when you hear trap, you have a certain image that goes along with it. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily, you're kind of like smashing boundaries and barriers in terms of the type of music you're making, given that it's a male dominated kind of genre at this point. So what was that like? Did you get slack for that? Was there people that were taken aback by your look and your music, the contrast between the two?
Yes, I did get a little bit because I felt like people would like they wouldn't expect me to look like this. But just because I look like this, like it shouldn't take away from the things that I'm saying or the things that I've been through. Like there's pretty girls all around the world that live real shit every single day. So it's like you can never look at me and assume that it's sweet. Like don't ever think that it's sweet, you know? I felt like
Yeah,
that was
facts.
my biggest problem. People would look at me and see me and be like, "Wow, she's so pretty. She looked like a singer." I'm not like, and it wasn't that. Like they wasn't gonna never get that from me, what they
Mm.
expected. So, I just it fueled me, it inspired me. I started a women's collective called the New Women,
Okay,
and
talk about that.
it's it's basically like it's a platform for girls all around the nation to just kind of tell their stories and show like what they do. And I felt like I was so inspired by my story, and I did an interview where I spoke about like detaching the stigma where pretty girls are not allowed to talk dirty, because it's like, oh, you too pretty to talk that dirty. Like why do you say those things? So I was just trying to dead that whole thing, and I was able to reach out to. I was getting submissions from over 400 girls, like
Mm.
around the nation, around the world, that were like, "Yo, I moved out of my hometown, and I only had $1,000, and now I'm doing this, and I'm following my dreams too, girl. Yes, like." And I was just so, it just made me so crazy. I was like, yo, this is so live. Like, I need to create something where all these girls can be in one place. So that's where it came
Mm.
about.
Yeah, and that's what's up. And having that many people reach out to you without you know major publicity behind the project, that is, it has to be a fulfilling feeling. Like, and I want to piggyback off of that. So, after like living a comfortable life, struggling in Miami, you know what I mean? Ultimately, every artist's goal is to make money off their craft and be able to support themselves and their loved ones. Talk about that feeling, you know what I mean? Being able to make a living as an artist, and meeting these people that are in your Rolodex now that maybe you never considered. What's that feeling like?
That feeling's kind of crazy. Like, when you're the people that you look up to start to become your friends and your peers, it's like that gets kind of crazy. It will definitely, like, one thing about P, like being around him, I'm so humble all the time. People get in and they start talking to me. They're like, "Wow, I never knew you were so humble."
Yeah.
But that's because of who I'm around. All the people that I'm around are really, really good people. Like, granted, they're really successful, but they're really inside. Like, you would never know that these are such good-hearted people. So I
Yeah.
think that helps me a lot. Like, stay grounded, but it feels amazing, man, to be able to do what you love and to give back to the people you love is the best feeling in the world. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like that's what we do it for.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, speaking of like coming into the game with like big brothers, you know what I mean, who are, exceptional at what they do. Um, Talk about how have the type of advice that they give you. What's some of the best advice you've gotten from Fam or Pharrell in terms of like your career and how to maneuver?
They definitely, it's definitely stay humble. Like that's like the one thing. Like, yo, be humble. But I don't really need them to tell me that.
Hmm.
But another thing is to really enjoy the moment. Like, that's something that I'm really learning how to do now. It's so weird because I'm constantly trying to get to the next level and to the next step that I'm not taking full advantage of the moments that are around me. And when I mean advantage, I mean appreciation. Like, I appreciate the moment, but I don't, immerse myself in the moment. And that's what I feel like I'm getting better at. Like, just appreciating every little thing that's going around right now for what it is. And Like, look at where we came from to even be right here. So before we get to the next step, let's just soak this in.
Facts, 100%. 100%. You hear that? Hear that? For everybody watching the interview, take notes, man.
Yo, that's the realest shit ever, because I will always be, I'm my worst critic. Like, I'll always beat down on myself and be like, oh, bitch, you ain't going hard enough. Like, that wasn't hard enough. I'll erase a whole verse and then write a whole new one. So it's like, I never would give myself the credit for what we have accomplished. And fam will always tell me, like, yo, do you see where we at right now? Like, do you see what we doing, bitch? We just left the Latin Grammys. Like, why are you talking about the next thing? You see what's going on right now. Like, so it was just, I had to learn that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard that, like, that sort of idea resonate with a bunch of people, which is it's easy to overlook the process. Everyone has the end goal in mind, but sometimes when you reach that end goal, the process was the part you look back the most fondly about. You know what I mean? Just the ride and getting to the top. So, like I said, listen, young boys out here, young men and women out here.
They think it's sweet. They think this music shit is sweet sometimes.
Yeah, they think it's just like an overnight process. And don't get me wrong, you have the certain people who like made a hit and overnight their lives changed. But for the most part, people spend years and years building that groundwork. So then they could come on TV and, the other person sees the finished product.
Absolutely.
So I want to shift more towards some of the more recent things you're doing. So let's talk about Safari. Like first of all, that's a major, major hit. Over 500 million views on YouTube.
Thank you.
The Pharrell God himself on the hook. Now, we talked about it before where you were getting a lot of requests from people to do more music in Spanish, more verses in Spanish. Now, from the reception you're getting from that, it almost opened up another lane. Yeah. In my opinion, where it's like, is that something you're struggling with in terms of like, what do I do now? Because in theory, you could like just have a Latin career and probably be huge, but you could also continue what you're doing and still be huge. So does that factor any into your decision making?
I think it's like, I wouldn't say that. Like, there's not, my real passion is to just do music. So there's not like one piece of music that I'm like, oh, I'm married to just this. So I feel like me doing the music and me doing the Latin music, it inspired me to just like do more. So I've been working on a bunch of Latin songs and just a lot more Latin vibes in general. And trying to incorporate who I am as a person with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like my Latin music is not like just regular reggaetonero Latin music. Like it's pretty different. Like, so I wanna just create something that hasn't been done before. Like when it comes to the Spanish and when it comes to rap and singing, I just want to put them all together in a blender and just create my own shit.
Yeah, I mean, because you recently did like a couple shows in Latin America, if I'm not mistaken, right? Now, getting an outpouring of love, was that something you expected if you transitioned into like, when you did transition into like a verse that was completely Spanish, were you expecting the amount of love that you were getting?
I had no idea. I had no idea it was going to be what it was. I was so like taken back, just to have Jose bring me around all those different cities and see the people, like to really touch the people. Like I remember I was in Chile and there was a girl that was messaging me for like a year and a half straight before even Safari came out, like when I did a freestyle Senorita. And she was messaging me since then, but she found out I was in Chile. And she was like, can I come to your hotel, please? I want to take a picture with you so bad. Like I need to meet you. And I was like, damn, I never do this, but I let her come because I was in Chile. I don't know why in another country I would allow somebody to come to my hotel, but I don't know. It just, for something, it told me like, just meet her. So I met her. She showed up at like 4 a.m. with her parents and they were all crying. Like they were so excited that I was like, yo, this is the wildest shit ever. Like I just gave them all hugs, took pictures with them, signed everything. And it was just the wildest moment for me. I was like, this is crazy.